All right, let's just jump right into today's explainer. We are exploring a truly profound piece of writing by an author named Su Feng. What actually starts out as this totally mundane, honestly grueling afternoon of yard work quickly transforms into a massive psychological revelation about life itself. We're going to see how a simple, everyday chore becomes this incredibly powerful lens for understanding the people around us.
So we're kicking things off with this question right here. Why do some logs, and honestly, some people, just completely refuse to break? The source material sets up this brilliant, extended metaphor. It forces us to ask how certain things, whether they're chunks of wood or human beings, get so incredibly resistant to outside forces. And more importantly, what are we supposed to do when we inevitably run into that unyielding nature?
Section 1. The unbreakable log and the physical struggle. Okay, picture this. The author is out there splitting firewood, right? And most of the logs are splitting in half perfectly fine. But then they hit these special unbreakable logs. We're talking pieces of wood about 60 centimeters long and maybe 20 to 30 centimeters across. And here's the kicker. No matter how much force or precision you apply, a single perfectly aimed strike does absolutely zero. They simply refuse to give. It literally turns into this agonizing step-by-step battle. Step 1, you've got to wedge an axe into whatever tiny crack you can find. Step 2, you physically hammer the back of that axe just to force it deeper. Step 3, you wedge a second axe into the new opening. And step 4, well, you repeat that dozens of times. Dozens, just to split one single log in half. It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Moving on to Section 2, Straight versus Twisted Grain, Discovering the Spiral.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When the author finally did manage to pry those stubborn logs apart, they looked at the inside surfaces. The normal, easy-to-split logs, totally flat, even surfaces. But the special logs had these twisted, almost spiral split surfaces. The actual internal structure, the core of the wood, was fundamentally completely different.
So, naturally, you've got to ask, why did this happen? The author starts speculating, basically working backward through the entire lifespan of the tree. What on earth could cause a tree's internal grain to grow in this chaotic, spiraling pattern?
Well, the conclusion makes total sense when you think about it. The author figures these specific trees must have faced severe environmental pressure while growing. To survive in a harsh environment, the tree literally couldn't just grow straight up. It had to adapt. It grew in a spiral. And enduring all that twisting pressure over the years, fundamentally altered its inner nature. The grain itself became twisted.
And this completely dictates what the wood can actually be used for. Straight grain, the stuff that grew normally without all that pressure, is super useful. It's great for furniture, building houses, and as we saw, it's really easy to split for a fire. But that twisted grain, you can't build a house with it. It's an absolute nightmare to process. It only survived out there in the wild because of its rugged, incredibly stubborn strength.
All right, Section 3, the human grain metaphor, from trees to people.
Here's where the author makes a massive pivot and introduces this concept of the human grain. See, just like that wood, human beings who grow up enduring prolonged pressure and suffering develop what the author calls a twisted nature. Now, hold on, that's not a bad thing. It means their character is highly resilient and strong. But, much like that log that takes dozens of strikes to split, they become extremely, extremely difficult to break or influence.
Section 4. The roots of resilience and how environments shape us.
This breaks down how our environments literally shape our grain. On one side, we have the straight-grained upbringing. Think of a harmonious family, no violence, praised at school, smooth sailing. That creates a pure, gentle nature. But on the other side, the twisted-grained upbringing. A disharmonious family, parents belittling each other, constant criticism and suppression. It's the human equivalent of that harsh, twisting wind on a sapling.
And the result of growing up in that harsh environment is profound. As the author points out in this quote, they develop this intense resilience. External forces find it nearly impossible to break them. But here's the catch. Because they had to harden themselves to survive, they also find it incredibly difficult to accept advice. The exact same walls they built to protect themselves end up keeping everybody else out.
Section 5. Actionable empathy. Handling the twisted grain.
So, what's the takeaway? When we inevitably run into these frustrating, unyielding people, what do we actually do? Well, the author gives us a very clear, actionable framework. Stop hammering away with arguments. It's like swinging an axe at a twisted log. Instead, you've got to change your approach entirely. Show understanding and forgiveness.
offer deep sympathy and compassion, and recognize the invisible suffering they had to survive. And the big one, do not argue. Their nature is already formed, so arguing doesn't work and only ends up hurting both of you.
Which brings us to Section 6, Every Creation Has Value, the final truth.
This is such a beautiful conclusion. The author wraps up by saying that specially natured things and specially natured people are required for unique situations. They have a distinct, vital value in this world. Sure, straight-grained logs build the houses, but it's the twisted-grained trees that can actually survive the harshest storms. Whether society calls someone normal or abnormal, they are all unique creations of nature, holding equal value and purpose.
So, I want to leave you with this to chew on. Look around at the people in your own life. Who are the unbreakable ones? Who has that twisted grain? Next time you feel frustrated by their stubbornness, maybe try to remember the immense pressure it took to forge that kind of strength. Perhaps we can learn to see their unyielding nature not as a flaw to be hammered away at, but as a really profound badge of survival. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I really hope this changes how you look at the stubborn logs in your own life.